Hello class 7 students, welcome back to the science class. Today we are going to start chapter 11 of our science textbook, which is reproduction in plants. Chapter at a glance. Reproduction, sexual reproduction in plants, fertilization, dispersal of seeds and fruits, asexual reproduction in plants, pollination, fruits and seeds formation, germination of seed. Engage. Look at the given pictures. Identify the name, the types of underground stems. तो इन पिक्चर्स को देखिए और इन पिक्चर्स को पहचान कर इसमें से फाइंड आउट कीजिए कि कौन से अंडरग्राउंड स्टेम्स है. Reproduction. Reproduction is the process by which living organisms produce their young ones. Reproduction is the most important biological activity of living organisms and maintains the continuity of life on this planet. In a life cycle of plant, flowers turn into fruits and fruits have seeds inside them. New plants grow from the seeds. So, flowers are the reproductive parts of the plant. The other parts such as roots, stems and leaves are the vegetative parts of the plant. They are responsible for the growth and nutrition. There are two types of reproduction in plants, asexual and sexual. Asexual reproduction in plants, the process of reproduction in which the organism reproduces on its own without the help of another individual, is known as asexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, the new plants are obtained without producing seeds or spores. Plants like rose, sugarcane, potato, etc. reproduce through asexual mode of reproduction. The various methods of asexual reproduction are as follows: binary fission, budding, spore formation, fragmentation and regeneration, vegetative propagation. Number first, binary fission. Single-celled organisms like amoeba, paramecium, etc. reproduce asexually by the process of binary fission. During this process, two daughter organisms of equal size are formed from one parent by the division of parent body. Each daughter organism grows in size before dividing again. Binary fissions means splitting in two. In this image, हम इस इमेज में देख सकते हैं कि कैसे बाइनरी फिजन हो रहा है, जिसमें पैरामीशियम का एक जो सेल है वो अपने आप बड़ा होने के बाद दो सेल्स में डिवाइड हो जाता है. Number 2, budding. Microscopic organisms such as yeast reproduce asexually by budding. In this type of reproduction, a small outgrowth appears on the body of organism. This outgrowth is called bud. This bud keeps on increasing in size and separates from the parent to form an independent organism. Sometimes it never separates and a chain or colony of interconnected organisms are formed. तो इस इमेज में हम देख सकते हैं कि कैसे ईस्ट में एक बड अपने आप से बन रहा है और ये जब बड बनता जाएगा और बड़ा होता जाएगा और कभी कभी ये सेपरेट हो जाता है और कभी कभी सेपरेट नहीं भी होता. तो इस तरीके से ईस्ट में बडिंग रिप्रोडक्शन होता है. स्पोर फॉर्मेशन. नंबर 3, स्पोर फॉर्मेशन. Mushrooms, molds, ferns and mosses reproduce by spore formation. The spore is a small single-celled reproductive body which is covered by a thick and hard protective coating. This thick and hard protective coating enables the spores to withstand unfavorable conditions. When the conditions become favorable, the thick coating breaks upon and the spores germinate to produce new plants. Spores are so light that they can float through the air to travel long distances and germinate whenever they get favorable conditions. इस इमेज में हम देख सकते हैं कि कैसे मशरूम में स्पोर फॉर्मेशन हो रहा है. Number 4, fragmentation and regeneration. Some lower plants such as Spirogyra reproduce asexually through fragmentation. The long ribbon-like or filamentous body breaks up into two or more parts called fragments. Each fragment then develops into a new plant. The process of growing full organisms from body parts or growing a lost part is called regeneration. A small tissue from the body column of Hydra grows into a Hydra. Regeneration is more common in reproduction of animals, earthworms, lizards, fish. Number 5, vegetative propagation. The reproduction that occurs through the vegetative parts such as roots, stem, leaf or bud of the plant is known as vegetative reproduction or vegetative propagation. It can be done by natural or artificial methods. Natural methods. A. Roots. Roots of certain plants like sweet potato, dahlia, etc. give rise to new plants from their fleshy roots. Number B. Stem. Plants like potato, ginger, onion can be obtained from their modified underground stems. These underground stems produce several new plants from their buds. Modified stems like tuber, bulb, rhizome and corm help the plants to multiply. First, tuber. It is a modification of underground stem. The eyes or buds present on the tuber develop into new plants. Potato is the best example of a tuber. In this image, you can see a bud in potato. Number second, rhizome. They have buds from which outgrowth are produced, which give rise to new plants. This is seen in ginger, turmeric and banana. Number 3, bulb. Certain plants such as onion, garlics and tulips produce a short thick stem called a bulb. Bulbs have thick leaves called scales that contain food for the plant. When planted, bulbs develop into new plants. Number 4, corm. Corm is a thick solid food storing underground stem, sometimes bearing papery leaves as in the gladiolus. A corm has lateral buds which grow into new plants. C. Subaerial stems. In plants such as mint, strawberry, chrysanthemum and raspberry, the main plant grows side shoots horizontally on the soil surface or just below it. Subaerial. The buds present on this side shoot give rise to new plants. The main plant conducts food and water to the new plants until they are fully developed. D. Leaves. Plants like Birophyllum and Bigonia reproduce through their leaves. These plants have buds on their leaf margins. These buds give rise to new plants. In this image, you can see a vegetative reproduction in a Birophyllum plant. Knowledge basket. In case of a cactus plant, a part detaches itself from the main body of the plant and grows into a newer plant. Artificial methods. The artificial methods of vegetative propagation are simple, faster and less expensive for multiplying plants. These methods include cutting, grafting, layering and tissue culture. Number A. Cutting. It involves cutting off part of stem, leaf or root and planting it in a moist soil. After some time, cutting will develop roots and grow into a new plant. This method is generally used for sugarcane, rose, hibiscus, etc. In this image, we can see stem cutting of sugarcane. B. Grafting. In this method, a cutting of the desired plant is inserted into a cut in the stem of a rooted plant of the same species. The cion or the stalk are then firmly tied together. The stalk supplies all the necessary nutrients to the cion. In due course of time, new cells develop in the area where they are joined and a new variety of plant develops. This method is generally used in rose, mango, etc. C. Layering. In this method, a young branch is bent and pressed into moist soil. After some time, roots develop from the covered part. This is called a layer. Now the branch can be cut and grown into a new plant. This method is commonly used in grapes, jasmine, etc. D. Tissue culture. It is the modern method of vegetative propagation. In this method, a piece of tissue is cut from the plant and kept in a nutrient medium under controlled condition. This tissue grows into a mass of cells called callus. The callus is then transferred to another nutrient medium containing plant hormones. Here it multiplies and differentiates into small plantlets. These plantlets are now grown in soil pots for further growth. Advantages of vegetative propagation. Number first, the daughter plant are identical to the parent plant. Number 2, the method is quick, economical and dependable. Number 3, tissue culture can be carried out throughout the year irrespective of the season. Number 4, these methods are useful for growing plants which do not produce seeds. Number 5, plants take less time to grow as compared to those grown from seeds. Sexual reproduction in plants. Sexual reproduction is the type of reproduction in which two parent organisms are involved, one male and one female. The plants produce through the fusion of male and female gametes reproductive cells. Sunflower, coconut, and wheat are some plants which reproduce sexually. Flowers are the reproductive organs of plants. Parts of a typical flower. A complete flower is made up of 4 holes on it. These are sepals, petals, stamens, and pistils. In this image, you can see all the parts of a flower. Sepals are green and they protect the other parts of the flower before it blooms. Petals are either colored or white and are seen as the flower blooms. They usually attract insects. The sepals and petals do not directly take part in reproduction. The stamen is the male reproductive part of the flower. The stamen consists of a long narrow filament with an anther at its tip. Anthers produce pollen grains, which form the male gametes. Pollen grains appear as powdery material on the anthers. The pistil or carpel is the female reproductive organ of the flower. It is made up of stigma, style, and ovary. The style is a long narrow tube rising from the ovary. The tip of the style is called the stigma. The ovary is the swollen part of the bottom of the pistil. It contains one or more ovules. Ovules contain the egg cells, the female gametes of the plant. Types of flowers. According to their reproductive holes, flowers are classified into 2 types. First, the flowers which contain either only the pistil or only the stamens are called unisexual flowers. Corn, papaya, and cucumber have unisexual flowers. Number 2, the flowers which contain both stamen and pistil are called bisexual flowers. Mustard, rose, and petunia have bisexual flowers. In flowers, the process of reproduction starts with pollination, the transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma by wind, water, insects, etc., and ends in germination. Pollination. Pollination is the process by which pollen grains from an anther of a flower are transferred to the stigma of the same flower or another flower. In nature, pollination occurs in these 2 ways. When pollen from the anther of a flower is transferred to the stigma of the same flower or the stigma of another flower on the same plant, the process is called self-pollination. When pollen from the anther of a flower is transferred to the stigma of a flower in another plant, the process is called cross-pollination. In this image, we can see the types of pollination. Agents of pollination. Pollination takes place with the help of wind, water, and insects. They are known as the agents of pollination. First, A. Wind. The pollen grains that are light are easily taken away by the wind from one flower to the another flower. The wind-pollinated flowers are small, not brightly colored, and do not produce nectar. Some examples of wind-pollinated flowers are wheat, rice, and maize. B. Water. In aquatic plants, flowers may release pollen grains from its anther in water. These pollen grains are carried to the stigma of another flower by the water. The plants such as seagrass, hydrilla, etc. are water pollinated. C. Insects. Many insects such as bees and butterflies visit flower for nectar, and some pollen grains stick to the body parts of these insects. When these insects visit another flower, the pollen grains fall on its stigma. The insects' pollinated flowers are brightly colored, produce nectar, have sticky pollens, and are sweet and small. Some examples of insect-pollinated flowers are orchids, sweet pea, etc. Fertilization. After pollination, the fusion of male gamete with the female gamete takes place. The process of fusion of male and female gamete is called fertilization. The fertilization leads to the formation of zygote, which develops into embryo. During fertilization, the following events occur. First, after landing on the stigma, the pollen grains germinate and produce their tubes. The tubes are called pollen tubes. They carry the male gamete. 2. Only one pollen tube reaches the ovule. Female gamete is present inside the ovule. Third, finally the male gamete fuses with the female gamete, thus fertilization occurs. In this image, we can see the process of fertilization. Fruits and seeds formation. After fertilization, the ovary grows into a fruit, the ovules develop into seeds. Each seed contains an embryo. The embryo is made up of radical plumule and cotyledons. The stigma, style, stamens, petals and sepals dry or fall off. This is the structure of a seed. With time, the seed hardens and dries. This enables it to survive in adverse conditions. The ovary wall may become fleshy and succulent as in plums or tomatoes, or stems, or becomes a pod as in poppy. The whole ovary after fertilization grows to form a fruit. Actually, a fruit is a biologically ripened ovary. Dispersal of seeds and fruits. After seeds ripen, they are usually scattered far away from where they were made. The scattering of seeds is called seed dispersal. Seeds are dispersed mainly in the following ways. A. Dispersal by wind. Seeds that are usually small and light are dispersed by wind. Seeds of dandelion, maple, cotton, etc. are dispersed by the wind. Their wing-like structures help them in flying with the wind. Many kinds of seeds are housed in winged or plumed fruits that remain airborne long enough to carry the seed well away from its parent. Two popular examples of winged fruits are clematis and thistle. B. Dispersal by water. Seeds and fruits that can float are dispersed by water. Seeds/fruits of coconut, lily, lotus, etc. are dispersed in this way. Coconut tree grows near seashore. The coconut, which is the seed of the coconut palm, floats in water and is carried away from one place to another by water currents. C. Dispersal by animals and humans. Men and animals eat several types of fruits like mango, apple, papaya, etc. and disperse their seeds. Birds also play a vital role in seed dispersal. These seeds are getting right conditions for growth, germinate into new plants. Some seeds have stuffed hair, spines or hooks. These seeds stick to the fur of animals or clothes of human beings and are carried to distant places. Seeds of xanthium and tiger snail stick to the hair of animals and are carried away to far off places. D. Dispersal by burst. Fruits of plants such as pea, balsam, touch-me-not, etc. open or explode when they are ripe or dry. The seeds get thrown off up to a distance of up to 15 meters and are scattered away from the parent plant. Germination of seeds. Germination is the process of developing seeds into new plants. After dispersal, when a seed gets suitable temperature, air and water, it germinates and grows into a new plant. The plumule develops into the shoot system, whereas the radicle grows as the root system. Moral learned. A flower has many qualities we can learn from. It is frank, equal, generous and kind. Flowers bloom in all kinds of natural surroundings. A flower has an open life. It shares its beauty with everyone. It neither knows nor cares what caste or creed stands for, nor does it acknowledges the difference between rich and poor. The beauty of flower holds is never hidden so that everyone can experience it, see it, feel it, relate to it, and most importantly, share it. It treats everyone equally and has no preferences. Everyone can enjoy its beauty and fragrance without any discrimination. Recapitulation. Reproduction is necessary to continue life on earth. Reproduction is the process of producing young ones or offsprings of one kind. Plants reproduce by two methods. First, asexual reproduction. Second, sexual reproduction. Binary fission, budding, spore formation, fragmentation, regeneration, and vegetative propagation are methods of asexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction involves fusion of male and female gametes. Flower is the reproductive part of the plant, may be unisexual or bisexual. It may be unisexual or bisexual. Pollination is the process of transfer of pollens from anther to stigma. Fertilization is the fusion of male and female gametes. Fertilized egg is called zygote. Insects, wind, water and animals are responsible for dispersal of seeds. Thank you class. Let's meet again next time.